Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Well, happy Friday. Toronto Maple Leafs fans are rejoicing tonight in the fact that they did not actually choke up a 5-3 lead against the Buffalo Sabres, finally winning with an empty netter. Thank you to William Nylander for sealing that victory with 20 seconds to go, winning 6-3 in Buffalo, handing Buffalo their 12th straight loss of the season. My name is Lauren. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. If it is your first time, happy to have you on this wonderful, chilly, snowy Friday night in December before Christmas season. So let's talk about the game. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the goaltending. We're going to talk about the fact that that third line has just scored 12 points in the last 3 games. And we're going to talk about all of that tonight here on Game Over. And before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about our flagship show, Hyperdrive Hockey. Shift into Hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all of the biggest stories in hockey, bringing you a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate and make you think and more. Join Max, Daphne, and Kevin every Tuesday and Wednesday for your fill on all of the hockey world. You can watch it on the Game Over Network channel, or you can subscribe on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you go check out that show. It is a wonderful time. If you're just joining us, again, welcome to Game Over. My name is Lauren. I'm going to be your host for this wonderful, chilly Friday evening. So let's talk about that game. Now, going into this game, we beat them last week. It was not an easy win. There was a lot of moments in that last game against Buffalo last week, less than a week ago actually, where the Toronto Maple Leafs were not the better team for the majority of that game. And then tonight there were very good moments where the Leafs were very obviously dominant and Buffalo was very, very obviously not. But they almost did cough it up at the end there. 2 disallowed goals that we are definitely going to talk about tonight. The deserve to winner meter would probably tell you that it's a lot closer to about 50-50 that the Leafs actually win that game and pull off getting another 2 points against Buffalo. Not facing Buffalo now until April. So not until the very end of the season. So it'll be nice to not see them. But historically, usually the Leafs in a year will give 1 good performance against the Sabres and then 2 stinkers. So for them to come out so far out of 2 games with all 4 points, can't really complain about that. So I got my water. I hope you got your water. Make sure you stay hydrated, everybody. And let's talk about that game. Now, to start off, Matt Murray is in net tonight. Not exactly what we all had on our bingo cards earlier this week when we thought Anthony Stolarz was going to be simply day-to-day. Now going to be out 4 to 6 very long, very cold, very potentially lonely weeks for the Leafs goaltending. So glad that Matt Murray was able to get his first victory in over 600 days. What a story for him. What a story going into this game. We had Hildeby play recently. We've had a couple of, Matt Murray is now the 4th goalie to play for in the Leafs sweater for us so far this year, and was a fine showing. To start off the game, McMahon gets a really nice goal 1 minute and 29 seconds in on a really nice shot, on a really nice pass from Max Domi. That third line, again, just coming together so well. It was basically like a 3-on-1. Going into the Sabres zone, there was a defensive breakdown. Their forwards were basically trying to create a little bit of offense, which is fine. And the Leafs were just able to bury it real quick. And then basically immediately following that, 55 seconds later, Alex Tuch answers. But it is the first of a couple of bad luck things for the Sabres in that evening. That goal ends up being pulled back, and then the ensuing call ends up actually being, not only do they get the goal called back, but they get a double minor against Jason Zucker on a high stick on Chris Tanev. There was blood. There was, it wasn't called until after the play. The linesman saw it, etc. And so I imagine that within the first 5 minutes of the game, most Buffalo fans were already quite upset about how the game was going. I mean, it's rough going down 90 seconds, 1-0 to a team that you don't really like playing against, and a team that frequently invades your barn and takes over. And so for Buffalo to have that first goal called back and then to get a double minor on top of that, definitely deflating the air that was in their tires. Now, they do end up actually killing off the first half of that double minor, but Auston Matthews comes through big, gets a very nice one-timer from Willie. He's just sort of backing up into a little bit of space that he found on the ice. Bing, bang, boom, power play goal. It was very end of the power play, but it still counts. So, they basically go into the end of the first period. There was a very, not small fight, but the first period, Auston Matthews did get a goal, but he was getting bullied, boys. He was getting bullied a little bit on the ice tonight. All over the place was Buffalo with Auston Matthews. It seemed like anytime he had the puck, someone was coming after him. Now, he didn't skate this morning, which I'm sure we all collectively panicked over. I know I was panicking while I was at my desk today over the fact that he was not skating. Neither did Joseph Woll this morning. Obviously not the news that we would want from our captain, who we know has already struggled with injury so far this year. And while he's, managed to score a couple goals in the last few games, I think we can all agree he has not looked quite his normal self. And so that was very nice to see him get that power play goal tonight. And then for him to get sort of trucked over by Tage Thompson, one of the other few players in the league that are very skilled from Arizona. He gets knocked over like a domino by Tage Thompson, and Morgan Riley just skates up to him and is like, "Nope, you're not doing that." Now, Morgan Riley is no spring chicken. He is certainly not old. He is not an old player in the league, but he has been around for a long time. And so, I don't know how many, off the top of my head, how many fights Morgan Riley's been in, but I don't think it's been in more than maybe half a dozen in something like 800 games. So it was impressive, and it was nice to see someone not named Jake McCabe stick up for our teammates, not named Ryan Reeves. It was really nice to see one of our other assistant captains actually step up and tell Tage Thompson that was not appropriate. And so that's how they go into the second period. The shots, again, the shots for the Leafs in the last couple of games have been really rough, especially in the first period. And even tonight we were limited to 5. But really quickly, let's run through the second period. Nick Robertson buries a very, very, very nice goal. That third line was just absolutely moving 2 minutes into the second period. JJ Peterka actually ends up getting one back for the Buffalo Sabres about 29 seconds later. And then Max Domi, again, that third line just deciding to go off like a whole packet of firecrackers, and it's Home Alone in the pot by the doggy door on the back. Max Domi, a very nice pass from Bobby McMahon, basically a 270-degree spinorama pass. Domi buries it, and at that point, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, my favorite goalie name in the entire NHL, was pulled, and we got Optimus Rhyme in net. And it didn't stop there. The Leafs managed to get another one. Patches gets one with 9:13 to go. A really nice play from JT, from Willie. That second line finally getting a little bit of... Sorry, there's a moth. Getting a little bit of chemistry back tonight. Matthew Nyes was actually back on the top line with Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner, and they seem to have a little bit of magic back as well. We're going to talk about all those lines in just a separate second here, but just finishing up how the game went, there was 2 4-on-4s, and actually Buffalo ends up scoring on both of them, getting them the 5-2 and the 5-3 goal. And then there was another penalty the Leafs took with just a couple minutes left. And then there's a 5-4 goal that ends up being called back again. The Leafs were really struggling in their own end in the last, I'm going to say, 12 minutes of that third period. It really felt like they were just trying to get through the game without allowing another goal, which they ended up doing. But it very nearly was going to overtime, I would have guessed, because, with 3 minutes and 26 seconds to go, Owen Power essentially sends one in from the point. It may or may not have gone off of a stick, but it doesn't matter because Sam Lafferty touched Matt Murray's stick and it essentially pulled him off. He wasn't able to reset, and then it gets called back. It's a heck of a call there. I mean, 3 minutes and 26 seconds to go. They challenge for goaltender interference, and those calls have not been particularly. They've been about as clear as frosted glass in terms of what's goalie interference and what's not. Now, the more they reviewed it, the more it did really look like Matt Murray didn't have a chance to reset. And I'm sure. I mean, if I'm a Buffalo fan, I'm very upset with not just how the refs made calls tonight. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like they had 4-on-4 opportunities. They were able to bury both of them. They actually end up only getting one other power play for the night. But those 2 goals being called back is the difference in the game, right? Like for the Leafs to go up 1-0 and for Buffalo to answer back essentially 55 seconds later, and then for it to be called back, and on the ensuing power play for the Leafs to actually go up 2-0 when it was very nearly a tie game. I mean, that's a huge momentum swing. Even though the Leafs only go into the second period going up that 2-0, it really felt like Buffalo was trying for the rest of the game to get the momentum back. And in fairness, they did get it back. The more the third period went on, the clearer it was that Buffalo wasn't just going to go away quietly into the night. While they did lose, and while they have lost so many games lately, I'm glad that they didn't just fold. Like if I'm a Buffalo fan, if you're a Buffalo fan watching this, or if you know a Buffalo fan, I'm not gonna lie, I think that I like Toronto Maple Leafs hockey better when the Sabres are competitive and when they're good and when they're playing in a way that makes me a little bit nervous going into Buffalo. And the last year, basically, that hasn't been the case. And it's been unfortunate. I actually grew up in Niagara, if you didn't know that. And there were a lot of Buffalo fans in my hometown. There were a lot of Leaf fans, obviously. There were lots of Sens fans. But Buffalo was just as close as Toronto was from my hometown. So I do feel for Buffalo fans. If you're a Sabres fan, The nicest things that I can say is that I'm glad that your team didn't just go away without a fight tonight. They really did sort of fight to the final whistle, or until that last goal was called off with 3 minutes and 26 seconds to go. They wore their really nice goat head jerseys tonight. I love the black and silver and red. I'm trying to make highlights here because I feel for Buffalo fans. I remember, I don't know if I remember when the Leafs were this bad, but I remember there were some dark years being a Leafs fan when I was growing up, and I know what it's like for my team to suck. And so all I honestly hope is that now that we don't see you again for a couple months, Buffalo, I hope you guys turn it around, and that, you have enough players that you realistically should be able to put together at least a couple wins and fight your way back. The Atlantic is far more wide open this year. It is only December. It's not impossible that they fight back into a wild card spot unless they keep playing like this. Because if they keep playing like this, that's not going to be in the cards. But yeah, essentially William Nylander helps John Tavares get his 600th assist with 20 seconds to go, icing the game 6-3. And Buffalo goes into a weekend before Christmas, hoping that Santa shows up with an answer and not a lump of coal, because it seems like all they've been getting is coal so far. So that's the sort of the game recap and talking about how Buffalo had those 2 goals called off. Really quickly, I do want to talk to you about the fact that we do have a Patreon account. If you could check it out down below. If you are interested in supporting Game Over, we are a privately owned company. We restarted back in the beginnings of 2024, rebranding ourselves and restarting everything off. So if you're able to support it, would go a really long way. We have a couple of crowdfunding options available if you could be part of our community. There is you could join our Patreon. You could check out the LaRouche link down below, right down here. We're trying to raise around $15,000 through LaRouche. It is a a not-for-profit that is run out of Quebec for businesses out of Quebec. And if we reach our goal, we're going to have access to all kinds of government grants that would really help make our network even better. So if you could go check that out, that would make me a very Merry Christmas. So let's move into the second period, and let's talk about the fact that the Leafs do have some goaltending situations happening. Like I said, Matt Murray got his first NHL win in 638 days. A very good story for him. I mean, he is a two-time Stanley Cup champion, but he is somebody that has for the last couple of years sort of been living off of half of a hip, and it's been a long year and almost two since he has actually been able to be a factor in terms of the NHL. I mean, he's been down with the Marlies so far this year. He's been fine, but just it's nice to see that. Even if our goalie tandem is down, its mainstay and the person that we were all secretly hoping was going to be a Vezina candidate for the next month to month and a half, it's nice to know that we have more than just Hildeby. Even though we do have Artur Akhimov also down with the Marlies, and he has been quietly stacking up all kinds of wins. I think he's 5-1-1 on the season with about a 9-14. You have to give Matt Murray a chance before you go to your fifth string goalie. At this point, Matt Murray is the fourth string goalie. I mean, Dennis Hildeby has already played more games than him so far this year. Now, is that going to change? That remains to be seen. There's a very busy schedule coming up in the next essentially week and a half. I mean, we're on December 10th or December 20th, and I think we still have something like 4 games left in December, and Christmas is in 5 days. So looking just quickly at the schedule, so we have the Islanders tomorrow, with us again fighting against the Jets on Monday. I would imagine that Woll will get that start, and then we don't play again till Friday against the Red Wings, and then another back-to-back with the Capitals on Saturday, and then New Year's Eve we are playing the Islanders again. So we have 5 games by the end of the month. Islanders, Jets, Red Wings, Capitals, Islanders. So I would imagine Woll starts Monday against the Jets. I would guess he plays against the Red Wings. And I'm going to guess that he plays tomorrow against the Islanders. I mean, he also didn't skate this morning, which is also troubling, right? Like last year, he was out of the playoffs because of an injury, and I think we can all agree that series probably looks different if we have a different goalie between the pipes. And so while we started the season with some very healthy goaltending, it's a little bit unnerving knowing that Joseph Woll did not skate this morning. He's obviously fighting something as well. But again, it remains to be seen how these other goalies are going to manage it. So I would guess against the Islanders tomorrow is going to be Joseph Woll. Against the Jets on Monday, I would guess would be Joseph Woll. And then if I'm being totally honest, I would actually play him on the 27th against the Red Wings as well. That's a divisional rival. Detroit is sort of fighting for their playoff lives right now. As far as I'm aware, they're still out of a wild card spot. But Tampa's struggling, so there is a chance that it might come down between Ottawa and Detroit, and so any points that we get against them are important. So I would guess that Woll's going to start there as well. And then against the Capitals next Saturday, I will be streaming, and I would hazard a guess that it's probably going to be either Murray or Hildeby. I mean, the Capitals are struggling this year. Like I said, it's more important that we get the points against a divisional rival in the Red Wings the night before. And then they don't have to worry again about playing until the Tuesday after that at the 7:30 game the 1 p.m. game against the Islanders. Now the games against the Islanders tomorrow they're playing in Toronto, but it'll be in New York the Monday after next, so 10 days from now. And it will be interesting to see what their goalie setup looks like for that whole sequence, because even going into January, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 games by the 9th. So it's not like the schedule is going to slow down here. They had a very light November. We knew this was going to come, and just it's nice to see that Matt Murray is in game shape, that he can hold the fort down. Now, that first goal he would probably want back. And again, as the game went on, he had a couple of really nice saves, but that last goal, the Jason Zucker goal, no, the Owen Powers goal, sorry. The Powers goal, the 5-3 goal for Buffalo, Owen Power basically like skates in and gets the rebound that's all in the traffic, and Murray is sprawled out looking the other direction. Not the best save by him, but he had a couple of very good saves. I mean, again, it's his first game in the NHL in 638 days, so you have to guess that he's going to be a little bit scratchy. He's going to be a little bit rusty, and so not overly surprising. We'll see how Hildeby does down in the Marlies. He was fine the other night, but you know, it's nice to see that we have more than just one thing of depth. I mean, 3 years ago now, you know, when Jack Campbell's in net, and and I don't even know who our backup was at that point. Chat, who is our backup like 3 years ago? I can't remember. It seems like 10 years ago, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, so, you know, that's the goaltending talking about the goaltending for the night. Matt Murray was fine tonight. He had a couple of really nice saves, like I said, but there was as the game went on, I didn't like how we played in the last 10 minutes of the third period. There was more than enough opportunities that Buffalo could have evened it up. We could have gone to overtime and ended up losing it. Peter Mrazek, thank you, David. Yeah, Peter Mrazek was one of our goalies a couple of years ago. That was rough, but he was like our backup. He wasn't even the third stringer. I'm talking like who's our third goalie in the bubble? I don't know. I try not to remember that year. Yeah, Warrior Womp Murray won all you can ask for 100%. Yeah, Campbell Mrazek. Martin Jones. Thank you, Luke. Martin Jones was like last year though, wasn't he? Yeah, Martin Jones and Samsonov last year, and Wool. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, Hutch. Oh, Dave and Big Save Dave. How can we forget Big Save Dave? Yeah, Hutchinson. Oh man, there is a name that I have not heard in a very long time. So let's talk. Let's move over to the third period really quick. Let's talk about the merch, okay? This merch that you can actually click, if you click this link right down here, we have a sale on. If you type in GO Holidays on this website, you're going to get 20% off or 15% off of all the toques, all of the sweaters, all of the winter stuff. I actually had this t-shirt. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it in my laundry pile this evening, so I wear my PWHL Toronto shirt. But go check out this merch. I have this shirt, and I wear it more than I should. Like... And it's, I mean, if you know black t-shirts, they show cat hair very well. This one's actually pretty good about not catching all of the cat hair from my 3 fur children. But please make sure you go check out the store. Check out this shirt. I have it, like I'm a pretty big person. I'm like 5'11", 5'10", and I'm not thin, and I get a large. So if you use that for size, also the hoodies that we have all kinds of different merch. We have the established line. We have our love for the goalie line. Make sure you go check all that out. We actually have some Game Over toques as well. With the little robot head, they're super cute and super warm. So make sure you go check that out. If you have any last minute people that you need to get presents for, if you click this link right down here, and the code is GO Holidays. Make sure you go check that out. Check out our merch because we love seeing you rep all of our merch, all of the Game Over stuff. I love so much. I am not proud of the amount of tiny robot heads that I have all around my apartment and covering most of my things in stickers. So with that, let's go back to the third period and talk about this magical third line. Now, it's early days, kids. This line of Bobby McMahon, Nick Robertson, and Max Domi, since it has been put on the ice together on Sunday, has basically been the most electric line for the Leafs. Don't get me wrong, John Tavares and Max Pacioretty continue to create some mystical, wonderful, amazing, magical things, but that third line has been a game changer. Now, All three of those players, Bobby McMann, Nick Robertson, and Max Domi, have a history of hot and cold patches. I am positive that they will not be this consistent for the rest of the year. Statistically speaking, it's basically impossible. They have scored 12 points in the last 3 games. They are the difference maker in basically each one of the last 3 games. No single one of them single-handedly. There have been other people that have been involved on some of the plays, but this line has been everything that we've been looking for in terms of a third line that is capable of scoring. I don't remember the last time we had a third line that looked this electric. Like, even when we had Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Achari together on the third line, it didn't look this good. It didn't score this much. This line is so, and the best thing about it, sorry, I'm getting excited. The best thing about this is that not only are they producing and they're playing well together, they're playing simplistically. They're not trying to do too much. No single one of them is overcommitting to anything. Don't get me wrong, they were on the ice for a goal against tonight. That they give and they take. But for the most part, they have been very defensively responsible. All things considered. Now again, every now and then they're going to let in a little bit of a whiffy one. They do have defensive lapses. I mean, you have a line with Max Domi, Nick Robertson, and Bobby McMann. Nick Robertson is decent in terms of responsibility. Bobby McMann is responsible. Max Domi, not so much. But they aren't playing in a way that is causing them to take an overt amount of risks. They're playing in a way where one of them is making a smart read and 2 of them are noticing that it's happening at the same time and putting themselves in a position to get a lot of 2-on-1s. There have been at least a 2-on-1 that's scored in every single one of the last 3 games from that line. And tonight was no different. I mean, if you look at the Nick Robertson goal, and even the goal that starts off the game from Bobby McMann, it's essentially just a really good read and a really good pass and playing in a way that it's clear that they are starting to develop some chemistry. Now, again, it's early days, right? I can guarantee you that by the new year, this is probably going to cool off at least a little bit. But as the season goes on and as we play against teams that are very good, I mean, Dallas is a playoff team, but if we look at the last couple of games, they haven't really been playing a lot of super high-end teams. Now, going into Monday, it'll be interesting to see how this line fares against a team like the Jets, a team that, at the beginning of the season was on an unbelievable win streak that has since cooled off. They've had a little bit of a losing streak but it will still be a very good game. The Leafs always get up for the games against the Jets and vice versa. The Jets always want to go and truck the Leafs, don't they? It'll be interesting to see how this third line is, if they're able to continue to produce at this rate, and if they can continue to play this simple game that is causing them to get so many scoring opportunities, and they're happening to go in now. A month ago, Nick Robertson couldn't buy a goal, and I was begging for this team to trade him. If he's going to be able to have confidence and be able to play with line mates that are going to be consistent. I mean, Max Domi's been in the league for a long time. He's a fairly consistent player in terms of effort. You know you're going to get out of him. Bobby McMann, if he's healthy, he tries every time he's on the ice. And Nick Robertson literally usually does too much. Now, it looks like he's been able to sort of pull that back now that a couple of goals have gone in for him. He is playing with a lot more confidence, and he is using that shot that is so deceptive for goalies. More than one goalie so far in this league, not just in this season, but last season, have made comments about the fact that Nick Robertson's, the way that he scores and the way that he shoots the puck is very hard to track and is very hard to read. And so if he can continue to score, not just shoot the puck, but actually be able to score some of these and keep his confidence high, that third line is going to be a problem for other teams. Not just in terms of, we have to cover this line, but if all of a sudden all 3 of your first 4 lines are all scoring threats, it becomes very difficult to handle on the other side of it defensively. And I don't know if every single team in the league, or the ones that we might see come April, May, if they are going to be equipped to handle a third line that has that kind of capability. Now, this is not to say, I mean, it's December 20th here, right? It's game 33. We're not even halfway through the season. I'm sure lots of things can happen through now until game 82 and into the first game of the playoffs. But at no point is every single team completely cemented and has every single line carved into stone going into the playoffs. One of the problems that the Leafs have had historically is that they line blend too much with things that they don't know that work. At this point in the season, there are a number of line combinations that the Leafs have been able to come up with that at different points of the season so far have been able to score. Now, again, it's been very streaky. We had for a little while the top line while Matthews was out couldn't stop scoring. This third line now, a week ago, wasn't even a thing, and now they can't stop scoring. And it's not necessarily that in April, May, they're going to be able to produce with this level of consistency. But it's nice to know that there are going to be different combinations that Craig Berube is going to be able to go to that he knows work because they have at different points in the season. I mean, don't get me wrong, Matthew Nyes was back on that top line again tonight. But for the last two games, he was down on the second line with Tavares, and I don't know that that was the best idea. I mean, the offense for the Tavares line last game basically dried up because I don't think they got a shot on goal, the Tavares line against Dallas. So that line is an example of one that doesn't work. But the third line, how they've been playing since Sunday against the Sabres the first time, have been something to really watch. And it's going to be a nice thing that the Leafs, going into the playoffs, are going to have this as an option, and that they're going to have all these different lines that they can pull from, where if another team is going up against the Leafs, there's going to be more game tape that they have to watch about different line combinations that could exist. And it's not just, oh, now it's the playoffs and we're going to throw William Nylander down at center. Even if the Leafs make another trade for a third line center, which I do believe at some point is going to happen before the trade deadline at the beginning of March, I do think that's going to happen, and I'm fairly certain that one, if not multiple of the people that are on the forward group of this team will not be here when the playoffs start. It's nice to know that the Leafs are having these different combinations that are working and that are able to produce. And if they're playing this way, it's going to be more consistent than just hoping for a good goal. Now, again, there are things that happened tonight that influenced the game. The 2 called off penalties. There are things that happened in this game where the Leafs very easily could have lost it. But the third line would not have been the reason for that. The third line is the reason the Leafs got started, and they're basically the reason that they were able to put a stranglehold on the Buffalo Sabres and drag them kicking and screaming into the third period, regardless of the fact that they had their goal lamp lit for the rest of the game. It's very, very nice that third line, even though they might have a defensive gaffe once or twice a game, is producing. And it's nice to see Nick Robertson scoring because he's a better player when he's playing well. It's so clear when he's not playing well. And the last couple of games, that third line is absolutely juiced. Like capital J used. With energy and happiness and glee. Christmas came early for those boys. There are 13 people in the chat, which means there better be 13 likes. If you could hit like, if you could hit subscribe, if you could tell some of your friends that this stream is happening, we will be back every single Leafs game. We're going to move into the overtime period here in just a quick second. So please make sure you get your questions down in the chat. I actually have a question for you, chat, while you ponder your questions. So this third line, right? McMahon, Domi, Robertson. What do you think their nickname should be? Don't make MDR, DMR, RMD. Remedy. The Remedy line? I mean, if more injuries happen and they continue to score this much, they might be the only thing that keeps the Leafs' heads above water and keeps them alive. So maybe the Remedy line, RMD. Before we do that, really quickly, let's throw on our overtime lamp. Again, if you could hit like and if you could hit subscribe, it would really help out the channel. It would go a long way. It would mean a lot to me. And it would mean a lot to all the Game Over people if you could actually go check out the other Game Over streams. I know that you're probably a Leafs fan, but if we ever do crossover episodes, like on Monday, it's going to be a crossover episode against the Jets. Make sure that you go and check out the Game Overs of the other Canadian networks. It goes a really long way. I know that you might not be a Jets fan. if you're here and you're not new, you know that the Jets are not my favorite team, but it would still really help the channel. Make sure you, like I said, make sure you go check out the Hyperdrive Hockey show. And the other show that we have on the Game Over Toronto network is Game on Hockey with our friend Josh. It's basically like a daily update show of everything that's happening in Leafs land. So if you could actually go check that out as well, it's a really good thing to. I actually listen to it on my commute, which is a very nice thing. Just in terms of if I'm not able to get on social media the day before regarding hockey stuff, it's a very nice resource to have. So make sure you check out Game on Hockey. So let's get to some of these questions in the chat. I was a very smart panda and I accidentally closed the stream. So you'll just have to stand by for a second. 9 watching. McDomerson? Oh, Matt, I like that. McDomerson. That's like a cursed McDonald's. I mean, OEL got hit in the McNuggets tonight, so that was rough for him. I hope his McNuggets are okay. I heard someone smarter than me that if the Leafs could find a 3 left C within their ranks, they could trade for Chris Kreider. I wouldn't hate that. I mean, he's very useful. He obviously wants to win. I don't know if the Leafs can afford that cap hit, but we'll see. Music for Al. What's up, buddy? Let's see after this weekend how the lines show up. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens on Monday. And going into the new year, it'll be interesting. McDomie Robertson. Lauren, great summary. I'm sorry for Buffalo too. Yeah, Roger. Honestly, I gotta pour one out for the Buffalo fans here. That's a problem I don't think any box of Eggo waffles could solve. It's going to take more than a couple boxes of waffles, I think, to get Buffalo straightened out. I mean, by the end of that game, there was a substantial amount of empty seats. And the other thing? So Buffalo has these royal blue jerseys, and the Leafs have their blue away jerseys, and there's a lot of Leaf fans that go to the Buffalo game. And sometimes it's hard to decipher which ones are Buffalo jerseys, at a glance, right? When the camera's panning back and forth. It's not always easy to differentiate every shade of blue in the stands, which I think is part of the reason why I actually really like the black, red, and silver goat head Buffalo Sabres jerseys. Those are the jerseys that they had when I was growing up, and that's what I remember them as, and I think that they should make them their main jerseys, if I'm being totally honest. There's enough blue and white and silver teams in the Atlantic already, right? Am I right or am I right? How worried, Luke Venables, what's up, buddy? How worried should we be about Matthews long term? Well, I'll tell you what, Luke. He's been good so far this year. I think he's up to what, 15 goals now on the season? Maybe 13? He's got 50 goals in a calendar year, which is fine, but he got 69 last year. So that I don't really think that counts. Let me just check the box summary here. Austin Matthews. Yeah, Austin Matthews gets his 11th. Which is that's not great. It's not great. We're 33 games and he's only got his 10th. I mean, he was out for essentially 12 games, so I guess it would be fair to say he's played, 23 games so far? Yeah, 23 games so far this year. He's still getting a few assists. I'm worried. Luke. Thanks. No, I'm worried about it. The bigger concern for me is not only is he sort of obviously playing hurt now, he's not even going to get time off during the Four Nations face-off. He's going to be Captain America, more than likely. I think he's already been named captain actually of Team USA. It would be, John Tavares is getting that time off, and we know he is going to be resting up. I'm selfishly very sad that our captain and our most important player, not arguably, our most important player, going to go down as probably the greatest Leaf if he stays his whole career here. It's not particularly close. I think he's 10 goals back now from being the second most goal scoring Leaf in Leafs history, which is an absurd record. It sucks. It sucks that he's getting these injuries sort of season to season to season to season. I mean, obviously he had that time off earlier this year. He went to Germany for treatment. We don't know. We know it was a lower body injury. He gets lit up a number of times tonight. They're going to have a couple of days off for Christmas, and he's not going to get any rest during the Four Nations face-off. And we all know that intercontinent or intercountry play always ends up being quite rough. So selfishly, I wish that he wasn't going. I mean, there's no way he doesn't go. Regardless of the fact that there's a chance that he could get hurt in that, and it kills our season. Hope it doesn't happen, but we need to talk about the fact that it's possible. I mean, he's going to go, you go play for your country. You play probably harder in every game than you do for any game with your regular team, aside from deep into the playoffs. Because it's different when you play for your country. And I imagine that there is no force on heaven or earth that will keep Austin Matthews from playing to his very best during that tournament. But yes, it does cause me a different level of stress, and a level of stress that even though I love watching international hockey and I love watching, Four Nations, and I love watching the Olympics, and I love watching the best players play for their country. I love when the best players for Canada put on the maple leaf, and I imagine it's the same for most Americans with the Stars and Stripes. But he's my captain. I don't want that guy hurt, and it sucks that we have to watch it. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. It's gonna be great hockey, and if he gets hurt, I'm never gonna forgive them. The scratch and win line, because it's always one or the other. Matt, that's funny. The scratch and win line. That's good. David, welcome back, David. Luke Venables, I'm concerned generally about how too many of Austin Matthews, Marner, Will Nylander, Morgan Riley, and Tavares have disappeared in the postseason. I mean, that's not new. He didn't skate today. He's managing something. Matthews still looks a little bit injured, especially after the cross check. Yeah. When he got lit up that second time further along in the game after the Tage Thompson hit, and he was like down on one knee, I mean, you get cross-checked in the ribs. That's no fun for anybody. And I mean, Brad Marchand, famous Canadian, he's going to play for Team Canada. I had to learn to cheer for him. He spoke, I think yesterday, about what it's like to play with a broken nose, because they were playing against the Edmonton Oilers and Zach Hyman, who has a very broken face. And he was like, well, a broken nose isn't nearly as bad as like a lower body injury, which is what Austin Matthews has. And now he might have an upper body injury too. So that just adds a whole other layer of paranoia. If we don't have any more questions, let's wrap up the stream here. The amulet power is undefeated even when it's defeated. Adam, that's enough. Artur Chilovs, during men's Olympic ice hockey qualifying for the relevant Latvian team, was injured and didn't play in that tournament. To start the regular season, he was so often a sieve in the NHL for the Canucks and is now playing for the Abbotsford Canucks of the AHL. Yeah. Yeah, I that's enough goalie injuries. The Leafs have had a lot of injuries so far this year. We're just, more than anything, I'm just glad that we've been able to actually play well, regardless of who's been injured so far. So let's hope that trend continues. Let's hope Joseph Woll has a nice, strong outing tomorrow against the Islanders. That is it for me for tonight for Game Over. You can find me on all social medias, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, and its evil older twin that I will not mention its name here, at Lauren in the Six. If you could, again, follow the Game Over Network, if you could hit like and subscribe, it would go a long way. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you always know when we go live, because sometimes we're live right after, sometimes it takes a couple minutes. But either way, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I will not see you likely before the holiday season, so I wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a happy holidays to everybody that celebrates everything else. A happy Yule to you pagans out there. And have yourself a wonderful night. I will see you guys after the holidays. And go Leafs, go. Leafs win 6-3 over Buffalo after a couple called off goals. My name is Lauren. You have been watching Game Over Toronto. Have yourself a wonderful evening.